They say the best revenge is living well. But I'll tell you something better. The best revenge is sitting across a dinner table from people who think they've got you cornered, watching them slide an envelope across like it's a loaded gun when you've already been holding the bullets for 30 years. My name is Roger Hoffman. I'm 62 years old, and I've been rich longer than most people have been working, but you'd never know it looking at me. I drive a 2008 Ford F-150 with a dent in the tailgate that I got from backing into my own mailbox 3 years ago and still haven't fixed. I wear Wrangler jeans and flannel shirts that I buy at Walmart. Not as some billionaire quirk, but because they're comfortable and they last. What's the point of buying a $200 shirt that does the same job as a $15 one? I own Hoffman Wheeler Industries, a construction and manufacturing company that spans 8 states and employs 2,200 people. We cleared $180 million last year. But if you saw me at Home Depot on a Saturday morning buying garden hose, you'd probably ask if I needed help loading my truck. Not advice on commercial real estate. That's exactly how I like it. Invisibility is the greatest luxury money can buy. I wasn't always invisible rich. I started with a toolbox, a pickup truck, and a willingness to work 16-hour days. Back in 1985, I was framing houses in Houston for $12 an hour, sleeping in that same pickup truck some nights because I couldn't afford both rent and gas. My hands were so torn up from handling rough lumber that I went through a bottle of liquid bandage every week. But I saved every penny I could, learned the business from the ground up, and paid attention to how the successful contractors operated. The breakthrough came when I realized most small construction companies failed because they couldn't handle the paperwork and regulations. I spent my evenings at the public library, reading everything I could about building codes, OSHA requirements, and business management. While other guys were drinking beer after work, I was learning how to bid jobs properly and manage cash flow. It wasn't glamorous, but it was necessary. By 1990, I had my own crew of 6 guys and was pulling in steady commercial work. Small stuff mostly, warehouse renovations, strip mall build-outs, nothing that would make headlines. But we showed up on time, finished on schedule, and didn't cut corners. Word gets around in construction, and pretty soon I had more work than I could handle alone. That's when Gary Wheeler came into the picture. Gary was 5 years younger than me, smart as a whip, and had connections I didn't. His father owned a lumber yard, his uncle was a city inspector, and Gary himself had a business degree from University of Houston. He approached me in 1994 with a proposition: pool our resources, bid on bigger projects, split the profits 50-50. I should have been more careful. I should have done more research, but Gary presented well, his numbers looked good, and honestly, I was tired of doing everything myself. The construction business is hard enough without trying to handle all the administrative work too. Gary promised to manage the office side while I ran the field operations. It seemed like a perfect partnership. For 3 years it was. We landed contracts I never could have gotten on my own. A shopping center renovation worth $240 million. A warehouse complex that kept us busy for 8 months. Even a small hospital addition that required specialized bonding. Our company, Wheeler Hoffman Construction, was pulling in $8 annually by 1996. I was finally making real money enough to buy a house, get married, start thinking about the future. My daughter Sarah got married 2 years ago to a young man named Tyler Brennan. Good kid, smart, works hard. When Sarah brought him around for the first time, I did what any father does. I checked him out, not just the obvious stuff like criminal background and credit score. I had my people dig deeper, work history, references, college grades, even talk to his high school football coach. Tyler came back clean as a whistle. More than clean, he was impressive. Business degree from Texas A&M, worked his way through college waiting tables and doing landscaping work, started at the bottom of 3 different companies and climbed up through merit. No shortcuts, no daddy's connections, no trust fund to fall back on. The kid earned everything he got, which is something you can't fake. He had the kind of steady character you don't see much anymore. Showed up when he said he would, did what he promised to do, treated people with respect regardless of their position. I watched him help Sarah's grandmother with her groceries without being asked. Saw him stop to change a flat tire for a stranger on the highway. Small things, but they tell you what someone's made of. So when Sarah told me they were getting serious, I made a decision that would have made my accountant quit if he'd known about it. I hired Tyler as operations director at Hoffman Wheeler. Not through nepotism, he earned it fair and square through our normal hiring process. I just made sure his resume ended up on the right desk at the right time. Tyler had no idea I owned the company. As far as he knew, he'd been headhunted by our HR department, went through 5 rounds of interviews, and beat out 47 other candidates for a $95,000 a year job, managing day-to-day operations for 2,200 employees across Texas, Oklahoma, and Louisiana. Which, to be fair, he had. I just greased the wheels a little. Sarah knew, of course. She thought it was either the sweetest thing I'd ever done, or completely insane. "Dad," she said one night over dinner at my kitchen table, stirring honey into her tea, "you do realize this is like something out of a soap opera, right?" "I prefer to think of it as strategic family planning," I told her. She gave me that look. You fathers out there know the look. The one that says, "I love you and you are completely unwell." For 18 months, everything worked perfectly. Tyler ran operations better than the guy he replaced, who'd been with the company for 12 years. Our efficiency was up 15%. Worker complaints were down 30%, and we landed 2 major contracts because Tyler figured out how to streamline our bidding process. He spotted problems before they became disasters, handled personnel issues with the right mix of firmness and fairness, and never once tried to use his connection to Sarah to gain advantage or special treatment. The kid was good at his job, really good, which pleased me and annoyed me in equal measure, because it meant Sarah had better judgment than I'd given her credit for. I'd spent months looking for reasons to doubt Tyler, ways to protect my daughter from a potential mistake. Instead, I found myself watching him prove day after day that he was exactly the kind of man I'd want in the family. But Gary Wheeler's story was still unfinished business, and unfinished business has a way of finding you when you least expect it. Gary Wheeler was my business partner back when Wheeler Hoffman Construction was building a reputation in Houston. Gary handled the books, the permits, the client relationships. I ran the job sites, managed the crews, made sure the work got done right. It was a good arrangement, or so I thought. Gary was skimming from day one, not dramatically, not all at once. Just small amounts here and there, a few hundred from petty cash, padding invoices by 5%, billing for materials we got at contracted discounts. The way rust works, slowly and constantly, until you don't notice the damage until it's too late. By 1997, Gary had diverted over $400,000 from our joint accounts. But that wasn't the worst part. He'd also been using our client list, our relationships, our hard-earned reputation to build a competing firm, Wheeler Construction Services, wholly owned by Gary and his wife, bidding against us on jobs we'd developed, using information he'd gathered as my partner to undercut our proposals. I didn't find out all at once. It started with small things that didn't add up, clients mentioning conversations with Gary that I hadn't been part of, invoices for materials I didn't remember ordering, bank statements that showed transfers I hadn't authorized. Each piece by itself could have been explained away, but together they painted a picture I didn't want to see. The moment I knew for certain was when I ran into Eddie Castillo, who'd been Gary's accountant before he started working for us. Eddie was drunk at a Christmas party and loose-lipped in the way people get when they're carrying guilt. He told me about the second set of books Gary had him keeping, the shell company registered in Gary's wife's maiden name, the way Gary had instructed him to process certain transactions quietly. I didn't confront Gary immediately. That would have been the emotional response, and emotional responses in business usually cost you money. Instead, I spent 4 months documenting everything. Every forged signature, every stolen client, every contract that mysteriously went to Gary's new company instead of ours. I hired a forensic accountant, had him trace every suspicious transaction. I talked to suppliers, clients, even former employees who'd left our company to work for Gary. When I finally had enough evidence to put Gary away for 20 years, I sat across from him in our little Houston office on a Tuesday morning in March 1998. I spread the documents across his desk like playing cards. Bank records, client communications, Eddie Castillo's signed affidavit, photographs of Gary meeting with our clients without my knowledge. "You have a choice," I told him. "Walk away clean. Dissolve Wheeler Construction Services. Sign over your remaining stake in this company. Disappear from the construction business in Texas. Or I take all of this to the district attorney and you spend the next decade explaining to a jury why you thought stealing from your partner was good business." Gary stared at the evidence for maybe 10 minutes without saying a word. His face went through several colors. Finally, he looked up at me with this expression I'd never seen before. Like he was seeing me clearly for the first time. "You'd really do it," he said. "Not a question. Try me." Gary chose to disappear, signed the papers that same day, cleaned out his office that same week. I never saw him again, never heard from him directly. But word gets around in any industry, and over the years I'd catch reports. Gary Wheeler working small jobs in Oklahoma. Gary Wheeler doing residential remodeling in Arkansas. Never building anything substantial again, never staying in one place very long. I rebuilt Wheeler Hoffman as Hoffman Wheeler Industries. Kept Gary's name because I wanted to remember the lesson he taught me about trust and verification. It took 3 years to fully recover from what he'd stolen, but recover we did. By 2005, we were bigger than we'd ever been as partners. By 2010, we were one of the top construction firms in the Southwest. The whole time I assumed that chapter of my life was closed. Gary was gone. The damage was repaired. The lesson was learned. I had no idea Gary had spent those years telling his version of events to anyone who would listen, especially to his younger brother, Carl. Carl Brennan was maybe 20 years old when all this happened with Gary. Just a kid. Really, probably more concerned with college and girls than his older brother's business troubles. But Gary was his hero, the successful businessman who'd made something of himself. And when Gary came home broke and bitter, Carl listened to every word. Gary's version of events painted me as the villain. In Gary's story, he was the innocent partner who'd trusted the wrong man. I was the ruthless operator who'd stolen his ideas, frozen him out of decisions, and then used legal threats to force him out of the company he'd helped build. Gary never mentioned the $400,000 he'd diverted. Never talked about the competing firm he'd built with our resources. Never admitted to the theft that had nearly destroyed everything we'd worked for. Carl believed every word because Gary was family, and family doesn't lie about something that important. For 26 years, Carl Brennan carried that story, let it grow and fester, turned it into a mission. He probably thought he was honoring his brother's memory when Gary died of liver cancer 4 years ago. What he was actually doing was perpetuating a lie that Gary had been too proud to admit. 3 weeks ago, Tyler called me on a Thursday evening. Not as a son-in-law, Tyler and I had maintained professional boundaries even after he married Sarah. He called me the same way he always did, respectful but casual, the tone a young man uses when he's trying to make a good impression on his wife's father. "Roger," he said, "I want you to meet my parents properly. They're driving down from Dallas this weekend, and they've been asking about you." My gut warned me something was off. Not alarm exactly, more like the feeling you get when you walk into a room and sense someone's been watching you. Tyler had mentioned his parents before, but always in passing. Suddenly they were eager to meet me. After 2 years of marriage, that timing felt deliberate. "They've been asking about me," I said. "Yeah, you know how parents are. They want to know who their son married into, Dad especially. He's been doing some research on the family, wants to understand Sarah's background better. Research." That word stuck with me after we hung up. In my experience, when someone's doing research on your family, they're usually looking for something specific. And when they find it or think they have, they want to meet face to face to discuss their findings. I should have declined. My instincts were screaming at me to decline. But I've been in business for 30 years, and the biggest deals always come with the biggest risks. You don't build something from nothing by avoiding uncomfortable conversations. Besides, if Carl Brennan had discovered something about my past, better to deal with it directly than let it fester in the shadows. "Sure," I told Tyler. "Tell me where." The restaurant Tyler chose was Stockman's Steakhouse, one of those family places with checkered tablecloths and waitresses who've been working there since the Carter administration. Good food, reasonable prices, the kind of place where you can have a private conversation without pretentious servers interrupting every 5 minutes to ask how everything's tasting. I arrived 10 minutes early, wearing my cleanest flannel shirt and newest pair of Wrangler jeans. Old habits from my construction days always show up early, dress appropriately for the situation, but don't pretend to be something you're not. If Carl and Linda Brennan were expecting to meet some smooth corporate executive, they were in for disappointment. Tyler was already seated with his parents when I walked in. Carl Brennan stood up to shake my hand, a short, soft man in his late 50s with the kind of grip that tells you he's never done physical labor. His handshake lingered just a bit too long, studying my face like he was comparing it to a photograph. Linda stayed seated, offering me a smile that was friendly enough, but didn't quite reach her eyes. "Roger," Carl said, "we've heard so much about you from Tyler and Sarah. Please sit down. We're so glad to finally meet." We ordered our food and made the usual small talk. Carl asked about my construction work, using that phrase like it was something quaint and small scale. I told him I did some commercial projects, kept the details vague. Linda wanted to know about my house, whether I had any hobbies besides work, if I was planning to slow down now that I was getting older. Tyler talked about his job the way he always did around me, carefully keeping details general. He had no idea I received daily reports on everything he did, every decision he made, every contract he approved. In his mind, he was being professionally discreet about company business in front of his wife's father. The conversation felt rehearsed somehow, like Carl and Linda had practiced their questions ahead of time. They were fishing for information, but doing it politely, the way people do when they're building up to something bigger. About 45 minutes into dinner, right when I was starting to think maybe I'd been paranoid, Carl reached into his jacket pocket. He pulled out a manila envelope, not the cheap kind you buy at office supply stores, but the expensive kind with thick paper and reinforced corners. The kind lawyers use for important documents. He placed it on the table in front of me with deliberate care, like a poker player laying down a winning hand. "Roger," Carl said, his voice dropping to what he probably thought was a serious, business-like tone. "Linda and I have been wanting to have this conversation for a long time. There are some things about your past, about your business history, that we think deserve to be discussed before our families get any more intertwined." I looked at the envelope sitting there between the breadbasket and my water glass. I looked at Carl's face, confident and patient, the expression of a man who believes he's holding all the cards. I looked at Linda, who had picked up her wine glass and was watching me with keen interest. I looked at Tyler, whose face had gone pale and was now staring at his chicken, like it contained the secrets of the universe. My gut told me exactly what was in that envelope. 26 years later, Gary Wheeler's lies had finally found their way home. I picked up my water glass, took a slow sip, set it down without making a sound. "Carl," I said quietly, "before I open that envelope, I think you should know something about me." He smiled, patient and confident. "I'm listening." I leaned forward slightly, meeting his eyes directly. I never sit down at a table unless I've already figured out how to flip it. The envelope sat there between us like a loaded weapon, and Carl Brennan had no idea I'd been carrying the ammunition for 26 years. I didn't open it immediately. Timing matters in situations like this. Carl had spent weeks, maybe months, preparing for this moment. The restaurant, the family dinner setup, the manila envelope, placed just so. This was theater, and theater only works when everyone follows the script you've written for them. I had no intention of reading his lines, so I cut into my porterhouse, chewed slowly, and let silence do the work. Linda shifted uncomfortably in her chair. Carl's confident smile developed a hairline crack. Tyler continued studying his chicken breast like it might contain his escape route. After exactly 60 seconds, I wiped my mouth with the cloth napkin and reached for the envelope. Inside were photocopies, bank statements, business documents, correspondence, all organized with the obsessive neatness that screams lawyer was involved. I didn't need to read every page. The moment I saw Gary Wheeler's name at the top of the first document, everything clicked into place. "Where did you get these?" I asked, setting the papers down gently. "Gary kept his own records," Carl said, his voice steady but his eyes bright with 26 years of stored resentment. "Everything you did to him, Roger, every threat, every ultimatum, the way you forced him out of a company he helped build." I nodded slowly. "And you've been holding on to these for how long?" "Gary died 4 years ago, liver cancer. He died with nothing because of what you took from him." There it was, the grief underneath the calculation. Carl genuinely believed he was fighting for justice, avenging a brother who'd been wronged. The tragedy wasn't that Carl was evil. It was that he'd spent half his adult life carrying someone else's lie. "Carl," I said carefully, "I'm sorry about your brother's death. Save your sympathy. I want action. I want you to resign from whatever role you still have at Hoffman Wheeler Industries. I want a financial settlement for what Gary lost. The amount's in there, and I want it handled quietly before my son's career gets damaged by association." That's when Tyler finally looked up. His face wasn't conspiratorial, it was shocked. This was a man hearing his father's plan for the first time, realizing he'd been used as bait in a trap he hadn't known existed. "Dad," Tyler said quietly, "what are you talking about? Business, son. Adult business. How long have you known who Roger really is?" I asked Tyler directly. Tyler's confusion was genuine. "Known what, Roger? I don't understand what's happening here." I reached into my jacket and pulled out my own envelope. Smaller, white, unremarkable. The kind you keep important documents in when you've learned never to be unprepared. "Tyler, for the last 18 months you've been working for me. Not with me, not near me. For me, I am the sole owner of Hoffman Wheeler Industries. I founded it 25 years ago after your father's brother tried to destroy my first company through theft and fraud. Complete silence. Carl's face cycled through confusion, disbelief, and something approaching panic. I opened my envelope and spread the contents across the table. Original bank records, signed affidavits, correspondence, not photocopies, but the actual documents that had been gathering dust in my safe for 26 years. Carl, your brother didn't compete with me fairly. He stole $400,000 in direct theft and another $200,000 through diverted contracts. What I have here is the complete paper trail, including Gary's signed confession when I gave him the choice between prison and exile. Carl stared at the documents like they were written in a language he didn't recognize. I also have a sworn statement from Neil Coleman, Gary's accountant at the time. Neil is 71 years old in perfect health and absolutely willing to testify about every transaction he processed on Gary's instructions. He's been waiting 26 years for someone to ask him the right questions. You're lying, Carl whispered, but his voice had lost all its authority. Tyler, I said, keeping my eyes on Carl in your office desk bottom drawer. There's a folder marked Personnel, Confidential. Your complete employment file is in there, including the recommendation that led to your hiring. Would you like to guess who signed that recommendation? Tyler's hands were trembling slightly. You, me. And do you know why I hired you? He shook his head. Because you earned it. Because in 18 months you've proven you're exactly the kind of man I want running operations when I step back. You're honest, competent, and smart enough to solve problems before they become disasters. And because you're married to my daughter, and I needed to know she'd chosen a man worthy of the family she was joining. I turned back to Carl. Your brother was a thief who spent 26 years poisoning your mind with his version of events because he couldn't live with the truth of what he'd done. Carl was breathing hard, his face flushed. You destroyed him. No, Carl, Gary destroyed himself. Then he spent the rest of his life making sure you'd carry his bitterness for him. The silence that followed was the most expensive silence I've ever purchased, and it didn't cost me a penny. Tyler spoke first. Dad, is Uncle Gary's story really? Carl couldn't answer. Wouldn't answer, Tyler, I said. You have a choice to make. You can believe your father's version, walk away from your job and spend your life wondering what the truth was. Or you can look at the evidence and decide what kind of man you want to be. Tyler studied the documents spread across the table. He looked at his parents. He looked at me. Then he stood up, walked around the table and extended his hand. Mr. Hoffman, he said formally, I'd like to continue working for you if you'll have me. I shook his hand. Monday morning we're having a real conversation about the company, your future, and what it means to be part of this family. No more secrets. Carl and Linda left without another word. Carl took his envelope, though I couldn't imagine what he planned to do with evidence that had just been proven worthless. Tyler and I finished our stakes. 3 days later, my lawyer drew up papers making Tyler a junior partner in Hoffman Wheeler Industries. Not because he's my son-in-law, but because he proved that when character mattered most, he'd choose the right side. Some men spend their lives looking for enemies to fight. Others spend their time building something so strong and true that when enemies finally come calling, victory is just a matter of opening the right folder and telling the truth. I know which approach I prefer. If you're a man who's built something worth protecting, whether it's a business, a family, or just a reputation for doing right, remember this. Document everything. Prepare for everything, but don't let the preparation consume you. The best defense against lies is a life lived honestly, with witnesses and records to back it up. When someone finally tries to tear down what you've built, you'll be ready. And when the dust settles, the people worth keeping will still be standing beside you, while the ones who weren't never really mattered anyway.